Hello and a warm welcome to Business Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi and you're watching our special show, the Made for YouTube episode that we do, Easynomics. And on today's Easynomics, the economics of the Indian Defence Forces, the Army, the Air Force and the Navy are being changed through a radical, very, very radical, never tried before recruitment scheme. And before I tell you the facts of the scheme and perhaps the good as well some of the criticism that has come after and before this scheme was announced, let's hear what the Defence Minister Shri Rajnath Singh had to say, and also not just Rajnath Singh but the INB Minister Anurag Thakur, because 14 June has proven to be a big day for job seekers in the country, because it's not just the armed forces who have announced that in 90 days 46,000 positions will be opened up, recruitment will begin, 1 million jobs are going to be filled up, vacancies across the central government, across all departments including the civilian defence establishment, 1 million jobs promised by the Prime Minister in a tweet over the next 18 months. So let's listen in to both the ministers and then we'll continue this small chat.
अग्निपथ नामक एक ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव योजना हम ला रहे हैं जो हमारी आर्म्ड फोर्सेस में ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव चेंजेस लाकर उन्हें फुली मॉडर्न और वेल इक्विप। अग्निपथ योजना में भारतीय नौजवानों को बतौर अग्निवीर आर्म्ड फोर्सेस में सेवा का अवसर प्रदान किया जाएगा और यह योजना देश की सुरक्षा को मजबूत करने व हमारे युवाओं को मिलिट्री सर्विस का अवसर देने के लिए लाई गई है।
सबसे पहले तो मैं प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी का धन्यवाद करता हूं, जिन्होंने देश के युवाओं के लिए 10 लाख रोजगार देने की बात कही। सरकारी नौकरी भारत सरकार के अलग अलग मंत्रालय और डिपार्टमेंट्स को माननीय प्रधानमंत्री ने निर्देश दिए हैं कि अगले 18 महीनों के अंदर 10 लाख भर्तियां की जाए। ये देश के युवाओं के लिए एक बड़ी खबर है। आई थिंक ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ द यूथ ऑफ दिस कंट्री वी कैन से इट्स अ वेलकम स्टेप, and government has set a target of 18 months to fill 10 lakh posts in the government of India, various ministries and departments.
Well, you heard both of them, and let's come to this transformative scheme as it's being pitched, Agnipath, and perhaps inspired by a famous poem of the same name by the late Shri Harivansh Rai Ji Bachchan, lines that send the blood coursing through your veins. But what is Agnipath? At the centrality of it, if you look at this scheme, it seeks to achieve 2 or 3 objectives beyond what have been stated. The first objective, reduce the number of people who are hired every year. Average recruitment as per available data suggests that around 65,000 soldiers are hired every year. Now, this could also include the number of officers also, but that's not as large as a number. So if the average recruitment is 65,000, it's not happened for 2 years. What this scheme promises, headline number 1, 46,000 Agniveers, as these short-term, in a way contractual soldiers are being called for what is now being described as a tour of duty. A tour of duty concept has not been applied in the Indian Armed Forces since their very inception, and the Indian Armed Forces doesn't provide lifetime employment obviously to the soldiers. Their period of service is much lower than the commissioned officers. There are basically 3 baskets of the terms that people have: the soldiers, the non-commissioned officers and the commissioned officers who enjoy the Indian Commission, but a bulk of them, and if you look at the average service tenure, 16-17 years. So what is happening? There is very clearly, if you take that number on face value, a 1/3 reduction in employment from this recruitment for soldiers. That's the number 1 point. The second is that their emoluments seem to be in line with what is going to be paid, but these people only 25% are likely to be retained at the end of a 4-year term. After 4 years, 3/4 of them will be sent back into civilian society with just under 12 lakh rupees as a one-time Seva Nidhi, of which they will contribute 30% over the term of their period. The salary, apart from the allowances, if you look at it over a 4-year period, first year joining salary in a way is 4.7 lakh rupees. That goes up to almost 7 lakhs, 6.92 in the 4th year of service. There is, of course, a deduction, but allowances, especially the risk and hardship allowance, the ration allowance, the dress allowance, and the leave allowances, they will be applicable, and the ex gratia payments and death compensation and disability compensation will also be applicable. Thus, the second major objective is, as per data, and some of the data related to defense doesn't come by so easily, so please bear with me. The projection of savings, if you take at the total cost over 4 years plus the Seva Nidhi versus for a soldier under the current recruitment, is a vast difference. Almost 11.5 crore apparently being the total expenditure, and that total expenditure is hard to define because it can include everything, including even the cost of training and so many other elements on a regular Jawan. Now, clearly, training is not going to be compromised definitely for these soldiers, because they'll have to perform at the same level, but they will not be treated as ex-servicemen, and therefore, to my understanding, not enjoy the benefits of ex-servicemen. Now, beyond this, there is, of course, a larger point about should the Indian Army and armed forces have gone in for a tour of duty concept. The ethos of the army, the culture of the unit, the regimental nature of the unit, which is very, very unique, and not every army in the world has that regimental ethos. Also, the fact that the army is a family, religion, caste, creed doesn't really matter there. The cantonments are a sort of exclusive area, but that has its own reasons, and there is a special culture, so to say, pride of being a person who wears the uniform. And some generals, former officers, have gone public with their criticism on Twitter. Very strong words being used by some of them. One of the criticisms which I'll leave you with on this is that some of these people who do agree with the need to reduce the number of people, I mean, the army cannot just be an employment giver. There is a huge burden of pensions and salaries and wages, but there is of course this question that could it have been done in some other way, or perhaps a trial of the tour of duty concept. We'll wait for the experts and the generals to thrash it out. All the service chiefs have agreed and announced this scheme, and who are we in some ways to question their wisdom and their commitment to the nation. But as I leave you today, I also want to take a quick moment to reflect on the Prime Minister's announcement of filling up vacancies. Vacancies are an ongoing process. The number changes. The last number that we have as of 2020 is around 850,000 jobs. The promise is of 1 million jobs. People retire, new vacancies get created. If those posts are not filled for 3 years, those posts lapse. It's a lot of government arcane stuff, but it's very clear that a job bonanza of sorts is being created in the civilian establishment and to some extent in the defense forces as well, and that should help over the next year and a half. And remember, we are in the mid of 2022, and by the end of 2023, if 2 cycles of recruitment for these Agniveers, which means 100,000 people roughly, 46 plus 46, plus this 1 million, you're clearly looking at 11 million new jobs just months before the general election in 2024. So good news, and perhaps the fine print will also be read very, very closely as far as the politics of this country is concerned. But that was Easynomics on today's episode. We'll come back with more. Keep tuning in. Till then, goodbye.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.